You want to start?
Sorry. No, I don't want to start recording now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is June 26th and the time is 12 noon. We're here today with a great group of panelists to discuss VA healthcare. And I just want to take a moment to thank you for joining us today. As we're going through, we're going to talk a little bit about our agenda. And while we're giving the presentation, we just ask that you keep your video cameras off to help with the bandwidth. And we want to make sure that if you have any questions, that you're directing them to the question and answer box instead of the chat box. My teammate's going to be putting a lot of information into the chat box. So that way, if you're looking for the PDFs or the links that we're discussing during this presentation, you can go back and reference that. So a little bit about what we do and who we are at CalTAP. CalTAP is a resource that's designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras of their earned state benefits. And we want to make sure that we're providing assistance and continued support because your needs are going to change over time. And we recognize that there's 5 different pathways: the core curriculum, we talk about education, we talk about employment, entrepreneurship, and then there's a pathway for service providers so they can learn that cultural competency about working with veterans and working with the veteran communities. There's a lot of veterans out there from different areas. We just want to make sure that they know that the California Department of Veteran Affairs is here to help them out and walk them through the different benefits and programs that are out there. In addition to having people, we also have a really great book. It's a veterans resource book, and this book is full of different benefits and provides just a wealth of resources for veterans and their families. My counterpart's going to download a link for a digital copy of the book. And then if you are looking for a physical copy, we always encourage you to go to the website, and there's a box you can check, and they can send you a physical copy in the mail, which is a great tool for you to use. On our website, which is calvet.ca.gov, this is where you kind of begin your adventure through the California Department of Veteran Affairs. You can contact us directly. You can see where the phone number is at up there. And then if there's a VA benefits hotline, veterans crisis line, and if you're looking for a county veteran service officer, we have links for those phone numbers as well. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see where it's circled and highlighted. It says CalTAP. That will navigate you to our landing page, and the landing page will give you that 24/7 access with videos and PDFs to the different pathways that we were talking about earlier. Also, if you scroll a little lower down, it doesn't show it on the screen, I apologize, but if you scroll a little bit lower down, it'll give you access to our previously archived videos. So if there's something that you're interested in finding more information about, you can go through those previous videos, or you can navigate to our YouTube page, and that will help show you some great tools and resources. We talked a little bit about core curriculum earlier, whether it be understanding resilience, healthcare, claims and compensation, or if you have questions about California benefits. There's a lot of great information in our core curriculum. In this example here, you can see that we've highlighted the California benefits because it is a great question that we all have. What are my California benefits? And when we go into the beautiful state of California, one of the greatest things that we like to talk about is the college tuition fee waiver for the dependents of veterans who have a disability rating of 0% or higher. The eligibility for that, for those dependents and family members that have that eligibility, it just really puts millions of dollars back into the pockets of those California residents as they're attending college when they have that eligibility. You can also get a veterans designation on your driver's license. This is something that's offered from the DMV, whether it be your driver's license or your identification card, to get that veteran designation so you don't have to carry your DD-214 with you when you're going around to various places. In addition to that, California has a motor vehicle registration fee waiver. If you have a mobility related disability and it's at 100%, the state of California will waive the fee for one of your motor vehicles, which is a great, awesome thing that the state of California offers to help with the costs. If you're someone who's into fishing or hunting, California does have reduced cost fishing and hunting licenses for those veterans who have a disability rating and they have the eligibility for it at 50%. There's also no cost state parks passes available. In addition to that, the state started a program where you can go to different libraries and check out parks passes as well. So if you don't have that eligibility for no cost state parks pass, you can go to the library and check one out as well. If you, California has 58 counties, and so the property tax exemptions and the business and tax and fee license exemptions, they do vary from county to county. So we always recommend that you talk to your county assessor's office and find out your eligibility for those tax and fee exemptions. With the property tax exemption, right now it's a disability rating of 100%. And again, we always recommend that you speak with the county assessor's office to get the specifics details for those. Within the California Department of Veterans Affairs, we do have several divisions. We have the Veterans Service Division. We have the Home Loans Division. If you are looking to take your VA loan and combine it with a CalVet home loan, you can really maximize your purchasing power. And it's an awesome tool that the state of California gives to the veterans. The state of California also has a Women's Veterans Division that really looks into the unique needs that our women veterans have. And there's also a minority and underrepresented veterans division that makes sure that the underserviced population of veterans is getting their needs met and getting the help that they need. California has 8 long-term care homes, the CalVet Veterans Homes, for when you're looking for that veteran-themed retirement. And when the time comes that we have to discuss what is our legacy is going to look like, there's also a cemeteries division as well to help you navigate through what you want your legacy to look like. We want to make sure that we're here and provide that support for you. So we ask that you do provide a non-DoD email address, and you take that time to register for CalVet's homepage. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see some of our social media links, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, and we have a lot of different webinars that come up. We also asked that with the time permits that you have a chance to fill out today's survey. We talked a little bit earlier about our website, and this again is our landing page. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it's going to give you custom benefits and services and the ability to register with My CalVet. We do ask that you use a non-DoD email address. Here is our monthly newsletter. And as you can see, we try to make sure that we highlight some of the webinars that are coming up and talk about some of the different programs and changes. It's something that's made by the people who work in the building here. We want to make sure that it's relevant and has fresh information for all the veterans and their families. This is va.gov, which is the VA's main landing page. And if you have questions about healthcare, education, how to get your service records, it's just an excellent tool to use. And a few months ago, they actually made it into an app. So you can also download it to the App Store as well as going through va.gov and navigating it to their web portal. This is my contact information, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you may have in the future. Next up is going to be Kevin, who is the local interagency network coordinator. Hello, Kevin. How are you doing today? We'll give him a second to catch up.
Yeah, you guys can hear me, but I don't know how to start my video, but
Yeah. Are you there?
can you hear me yet? Hello? Hello?
Yes. We can hear you.
We can hear you now, Kevin.
Oh,
So how are you doing today, Kevin? Well, it looks like Kevin might be having,
hello? Hello?
go ahead, Kevin, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. All right, guys, apologize. I'm on the road and apparently I was in a bad spot. So let's go to the first slide. So this is our map of the territories. There are 8 links. We're local interagency network coordinators. That probably came through in my introduction. And we cover the different regions in the state. Some of them are geographical challenges. Some of them are population challenges. My territory happens to be the green area in the center. I have 10 counties within the Bay Area that I cover, but I have colleagues that cover the rest of the state. We like to work within our regions just because we know the benefits and resources that are in our regions better than I would know the ones in San Diego. So no matter where you live or wherever you may have friends or colleagues that are veterans that you can refer to us, this would be the regions as they break down and who to contact in those regions. Can I get the next slide? So this is what we do. We provide outreach. So all those wonderful things that I heard Sean talk about that is provided by the state, we're there to kind of help facilitate those if we can. If we can't do it directly, then we'll find a resource or benefit that may be able to assist you in that. But we're kind of the boots on the ground. We're kind of an extension. We're the arms from coming out from Sacramento, trying to be close by and understand our particular regions. We also assist in local emergencies. In the last few years, and well, just recently, last week, I was at a disaster relief center that was sponsored by FEMA because of some of the issues that occurred with the heavy rains that we had and the flood victims and all the things that went along with losing property and value and other things. And so we're there to help veterans that are having unique needs based on natural disasters. The fires are another good example of what those local emergencies might be. And we also try to provide leadership within your community. We try to make sure that those that lead your community, your board of supervisors, your local politicians, your local business leaders understand the value of having veterans be a part of their organization. With all the training and skill that you guys bring to the table as veterans, it's very beneficial to a community to have you be an active part of it. And so we also advocate on your behalf. Can I get the next slide, please? We partner with other organizations in order to do this. For our employment aspect, we partner with our sister agency at the EDD. They have dedicated veteran workers who provide not only help with finding jobs for veterans by helping you with resumes, helping you to find jobs, but they also go out and find employers that are veteran friendly, that understand the benefits of having a veteran work for them, and they try to connect those two together. We work very closely with them in trying to help you transition from military life to civilian life and be successful in your future careers. We also partner very closely with our county veteran service offices. Actually, they do a lot of our heavy lifting for us. Sean mentioned earlier our fee waiver and your parks passes and those type of things. All those can be attained by your county veteran service office. Also, any claims, comp and pen, medical claims, all those things that you need to do to get the VA to help you out, you need to rely on your county veteran service office in the county in which you live. And again, all that information is found in that book or online on our website. And then we also, of course, partner with our big brother, the VA, who provides your benefits as well as your health care. And we try to make sure that we coordinate things well with them, and that if there are any hiccups, that we help kind of try to smooth those over through the contacts that we have with local VA representatives and healthcare systems that are in our area. Can I get the next slide, please? Oh, the next slide is this. So there's my name. I'm going to give you guys another phone number. That email will go directly to me, but my direct line is 925-817-7370. And that is my work cell phone. You're more than welcome to call me at any time, at any reasonable time. And I will do the best I can to try to help you with any of the issues you might have. Again, I thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and we wish you the best. And hopefully this information we provide for you will help you in your careers as you complete your education. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Kevin. I put your phone number into the chat. So next coming up is going to be Kathleen, who's going to talk to us about navigating through VA healthcare. Hello, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. And thank you for anyone who's joined in today. My name is Kathleen Mink from the San Francisco VA. Currently in the Office of Strategic Planning as a health system specialist. Previously, I was a social worker through San Francisco VA. So next slide. So I'm going to do kind of a general overview of the VA. And of course, if you have questions, definitely put them in the Q&A or you can reach out to me individually. There's some confusion about the VA healthcare system in general. So I want to do this quick breakdown of the VA, and I'm talking about federal VA versus CalVet, because that's CalVet's through the state of California. So I'm from the federal part of the Veterans Administration. So when you think of the VA, you think of, we have three different branches or three administrations under the VA. So we have the Health Administration, which is the group that I work for. And I think when you think of that branch, you think of the VA hospitals, clinics, vet centers. So almost anything that has to do with services for your body, that would be Veterans Health Administration. The Veterans Benefits Administration are service connection disability, educational benefits, VR&E, home loans, pensions. So anything I think about for that branch, I think about money. Anytime you might be getting money or some sort of kind of monetary benefit, that's typically through the Veterans Benefits Administration. And then of course we have the third Cemetery Administration. The VA also has the Veterans Crisis Line, which recently has a new number. So instead of the longer number, which is still functional, we have an easier 988, and then you press 1. And that's a great number to have in the case that you have any situation, and it doesn't need to be a crisis. If you're looking for resources, concerned about something, you can reach to them, and then they will help get you connected to your local VA. And then we have the My VA 411, which is kind of a big number that sends you to different branches or different parts of the VA, depending on the benefits that you're asking about. Next slide. I think there might be one before. Okay, no, sorry, go ahead. Thank you. So the VA healthcare is, it's comprehensive medical benefits. So a lot of times, one of the misconceptions that we have is that VA healthcare is only available to veterans with service connection disabilities. And I just want to dispel that myth right now. The VA healthcare system provides care to a number of veterans, even with no disability ratings through the VA. So if you are eligible for VA healthcare, I definitely recommend enrolling. So I'm going to go through the whole entire list, but essentially the VA provides almost all the care that you would imagine a community health insurance program would offer. I think of it similar to a Kaiser model where most of your care is going to happen at the VA. You'll see VA providers for most everything. And if there is something that you need that the VA does not offer, or the wait is too long, they will typically ask if you want to be referred into the community, and they can authorize that. But again, the VA provides medical, preventative care, primary care, specialty cares, mental health. We have a wide range of telehealth, which is actually was improved vastly during the pandemic. Inpatient, outpatient surgeries, social work services, medications. We do have a veterans dental insurance program. The dental care is the one thing that we can't provide to all veterans, simply because we don't have enough doctors to provide 2 cleanings for every veteran in the United States. So the VA does have a dental insurance program that if you are enrolled in the VA healthcare system, you are also eligible for that dental insurance program. And there's a little bit of a cost per month, but it's a great option for anyone who's looking for a little less expensive, but still quality dental care. And then, of course, access to community care and urgent care benefits. And next slide. So where you find the VA, and here in Northern California, we actually have 3 major systems of the VA. So I work for San Francisco VA. So we cover San Francisco, just south of San Francisco, and then north all the way to the Oregon border. We also include Oakland. Northern California takes on kind of the northern part of California, east toward Nevada, and then up toward Chico. And then Palo Alto sort of curves around the Bay, South Bay, Livermore, all the way down to Monterey. Next slide. If you aren't sure where the local VA is, you can always go on to va.gov. There's a tab for find locations. And this is a particularly good website to know about. There's lots of information on there, but this find locations is great, especially if you're traveling or if you're moving to a new area. You can go right on there, find the local VA healthcare clinics, hospitals, vet centers, and other organizations affiliated with the VA right on that website. It's, you know, the VA is nationwide. So if you're traveling and you get sick someplace, you can actually go into another VA in a different region and receive care. Next slide. So basic eligibility. So I'm going to go through this slide, but my rule of thumb with this slide is if you're not sure if you qualify, just reach out or just apply. There's a lot of idiosyncrasies with benefits or eligibility for healthcare. So I'm going to cover some of the basics, but just know that, again, there's some new legislation that impacts things. There's it's good to take a look at it and have the VA actually look at the eligibility. So for active duty, if you entered service after September 8th of 1980, if you're active military service, you would have a basic eligibility of 2 years of active duty, and there is an income threshold that we'll pay attention to. As a reservist or a National Guard, you qualify for VA healthcare if you've been activated under what they would call Title 10, and that's essentially a presidential order, and that you completed that full period of activation unless you were called off due to a disability or an injury. And then again, there's an income threshold that we pay attention to. There's some scenarios where the income or there's automatic eligibility, and that includes Vietnam veterans who served on land. There's some Persian Gulf criteria. Anyone who has this VA service connection disability rating of 10% or above are eligible despite income for the full range of VA benefits. There is some new legislation called the PACT Act that expands some benefits for veterans exposed to toxic exposures while activated or deployed. And then, of course, POWs, Purple Heart, Medal of Honor recipients. But again, you see that there's a number of basic criteria, but there's a lot of idiosyncrasies. So again, I definitely encourage you to reach out to your local VA or call the VA Eligibility Center, or reach out to me and we can talk about eligibility. Next slide. There is something called enhanced care for combat veterans, and in our VA healthcare system, we call that combat veteran status. So what that does is essentially, if you were a combat veteran, National Guard, active or reservist would be included in this, and that you discharged from active duty after 2003 and did not receive a dishonorable discharge, the VA gives you about 10 years following that discharge date to apply for VA healthcare. And under that combat veteran status, they actually waive the income threshold for enrollment, but also anything related to your service connection, anything related to combat service is not charged any co-payments. And typically at the VA, that's almost everything that you'd get at the VA is under this umbrella of combat veteran status. The PACT Act of 2022 increased combat veteran status from 5 to 10 years. And I really do think that this is important if you have any combat service and you've discharged, to apply for the VA right away. A lot of veterans put that off. They're trying to get readjusted to being students or being at working again. And this benefit gets put on the back burner. But because there is an income threshold, I encourage people to apply as soon as they can, because once you get a job, often you might make enough where if the income threshold applies to you, you could be priced out of the VA. And I've seen this happen a number of times. So I definitely encourage you, even if you don't think you're going to use the care, to enroll. And that way you at least have it, because once you're enrolled for life. Combat veteran status is also created with the hope that within those 10 years of discharge, that a veteran will go and seek service connection disability if they feel that applies to them. Super important for veterans to go through the benefits program and apply for service connection if they feel like there's a service connection or a concern about a disability related to their service. And next slide. So for the PACT Act, I briefly mentioned this. The PACT Act is legislation that's related to exposure to burn pits or other toxins. And this is a really important legislation that was just passed last year. So a few things that it covers is increases the combat veteran status from 5 to 10 years, just as I've mentioned. It provides toxic exposure screenings to enrolled veterans. So once you are enrolled, you'll actually have a screening that you'll go through to determine whether you need additional specialty care. It waives the income threshold for VA healthcare eligibility, and it authorizes new medical facilities, which is great, given that we want as much care as possible available to veterans throughout the United States. It also expands some benefits, meaning that it identifies new presumptive conditions that might impact veterans from Vietnam all the way through Persian Gulf. So things like for Vietnam veterans, one new presumptive condition is hypertension. And then there's a really long list of presumptive conditions for Persian Gulf and post 9/11, including asthma, various cancers, cardiovascular issues, because again, many people who were deployed in those areas might have encountered burn pits, dust storms, and so the VA wants to take account for all of those. I would definitely recommend anyone who is in combat to visit their county veteran service office to talk about a claim and get assistance if they're interested. And pardon me, I'm also looking for my computer charger that has vanished. Next slide, please. So why should you enroll? So the VA is, again, comprehensive care. There's no enrollment or annual fee. no deductibles. So, when you have private insurance, for instance, I have private insurance, I'm not a veteran, so I pay hundreds several times a month just to have the care. So the VA does not have any deductibles, annual deductibles or monthly premiums. There is no enrollment fee, so everything around that's free. And once you're enrolled for life. So again, that's not a service that, if you are working for a company, most often the thing that prevents people from retiring or they're most concerned about as they reach retirement is healthcare. We have some veterans who might feel stuck in a job because they have to stay because of their healthcare. And so if they enroll in the VA healthcare system, they'll have some coverage, but they'll have it ongoing. And I've definitely seen veterans where this factors into when they can retire because they have healthcare, they have that covered, and that's not something that they feel like they have to really worry about post-retirement. For many veterans too, they use the VA as a second opinion. So if you have insurance that you like, you don't have to switch your care over. You can have multiple insurances, and the VA is a really nice complement, but sometimes you can get some things from the VA that normally would cost you a lot out of pocket. So supplies, surgeries and that sort of thing can be quite inexpensive at the VA. So it's a really nice route to go. Again, we have many telehealth services. You can get a VA healthcare ID card, reduced dental programs, and then of course, access to care in the community and urgent care. Next slide, please. So there's lots of ways to enroll for the VA. So you can apply online. If you put in apply VA healthcare, it'll actually take you right to the page where you could either apply online. It also has the phone number listed here. If you do call or apply online, you are going to have to do some verification of who you are. But either way, you can do the application online. That will get processed and it'll enroll you through the online portal. The phone, you'll actually reach a representative who can go step by step through the application. They will likely ask for income and a few other things. So I would be just prepared with, important phone numbers, social security numbers, those sort of things for you and your dependents, as well as any income tax returns or W-2s from the previous year. You can download it and email or fax you could fax the application to the Health Eligibility Center, or you can go to your local VA and they can help you right on site. If you're not able to do that, you can actually fill out the application and email it to the San Francisco VA Member Services, and the email is right there. And I'm putting myself as the fifth option. You can make me the first option if you'd like, but if you have interest in exploring your eligibility for healthcare, I'm happy to go through that. I'm happy to help with the application and make sure it gets processed. So I'll gladly work with anyone who wants to do that. Additionally, just make sure that if you do fill out an application, that you sign the application with like a wet signature versus typing your name. If it's just typed in, the VA typically will not, they'll make you sign it again. So just if you can, make sure you sign it with a pen. Next slide. If you did get enrolled in VA healthcare, there is a potential for co-payments, but anybody who has a disability rating of 10% or higher will not have any co-payments for doctor visits, surgery. All of those visits, co-payments will be taken out of the equation. And so anybody who is not service connected with a disability rating or are at 0% service connected, $15 you'd pay $15 for primary care, $50 for outpatient. Mental health is considered a specialty service, so that would be $50. But this also includes things like surgeries, outpatient surgeries. So recently had a veteran who was asking about cataract surgery, and that's a $50 copayment. So it's, again, really competitive and often way less expensive through the VA. And again, things that are factor into co-payments are if you're a veteran who has a disability rating, combat veteran status, if you've had a change of income. So say you are in the VA, have a change of income, you can do a hardship waiver. And so that might factor in and waive co-payments. So these are some things to keep in mind as you're navigating through the VA. Next slide. For medications, if you're 50% or higher, you won't have any medication co-payments, but any other veteran who's either not service connected or 0 to 40% service connected, medications range from $5, $8, or $11, and that's name brand or generic. If you get to $700, that's your annual cap. And after that, you will not pay anymore. And so again, pretty competitive. Some veterans have no co-payments for doctor visits, but they might for medications. And again, this is checked, both co-payment status for medications and medical for someone who does not have any disability rating. You can get that reviewed every year. So again, if you have a change of income, someone lost a job, someone retired, you can always provide additional updated income information, and they check your co-payment status year after year. But again, this is really competitive. I've had veterans who were interested in medications like PrEP, which is the HIV prevention medication. And at the VA, I believe that's a $5 copayment. So it's really inexpensive, especially compared to, paying out of pocket in the community. Next slide. Things that you won't have any co-payments for, any counseling related to military sexual trauma, any comp and pen exams if you're going through a service connection disability process, if you're part of any research, anything related to a service connection disability, any special exams related to the burn pit registry, or any other service connection or military service connection, smoking cessation or weight reduction services, immunizations, labs, hospice care, electrocardiograms. So there's a number of things that you typically won't pay for. And actually, I didn't put this on there, but often a lot of equipment is not something you end up paying for either. So we have a lot of veterans who get hospital beds, crutches, scooters, hearing aids, those sort of things often are not, you're not charged at the VA for those supplies. So something, again, to keep in mind. Next slide. I did want to go over just some general mental health resources. So you have the VA healthcare system, which provides individual, group, and medication management. And our VA in San Francisco also includes or provides family and couples therapy. So again, lots of options through the VA that will be less expensive than options within the community. The vet centers provide therapy, but no medication management services. And the vet centers eligibility criteria is a little bit more specific. And so if you're interested in the vet centers, typically you have to have some combat veteran service or MST. And but they have some kind of ever-changing eligibility. So if you're interested in the vet center, I would definitely take a look at their website. They can go over, or if you even call a local vet center, they'll go over the criteria and see if you're eligible. Again, the crisis line at 988. Veteran-specific organizations like Make the Connection, Give an Hour, or Wounded Warrior Project often have low cost or no cost individual therapy that's time limited for veterans. And then other community options I like to put out there are, most counties have a mental health service. If you're a student, campus health services or centers typically have some mental health options, and usually those are, again, time limited. So the VA is a great option if you're looking for the VA, and if there's a you want something through the school, and if that runs out, you can transfer care over to the VA. So that's a great option to have. There are some online virtual / virtual mental health options, like I've heard of BetterHelp, there's another one called Cerebral, I think. And I don't know much about those, but I just, want to put a plug for at least knowing that's a resource. I don't have any, again, I don't know much about those. So I would just say, do some research as you're exploring other online or virtual options, because those are private companies. I don't know what the regulations or how they do business. So just as a good consumer, just do some research on those. And then again, other options that you might have through an employer. Often employers are going to have employment assistance programs or other options that do some time limited mental health services. So any questions about that, certainly happy to help direct you to some resources. Next slide. So myths about the VA that we hear often, and I covered this first one, but I'll go over it real quick again, is VA healthcare is only available to veterans who have a service-related injury or disability. And again, the fact is that the healthcare system provides care to eligible veterans, even if the veteran does not have a service-related injury. So actually, probably a majority of our veterans do not have service-related injuries. So it's definitely a good one to, the VA is a good system to look into to see if you are eligible, because your service is not limited. If you don't have a service related injury, you still have eligibility for most of the care that a veteran with a disability rating would have. There are a few specific things that you might not be eligible for, but that's the vast majority of your basic care you can get at the VA. Veterans are only eligible for VA healthcare for a limited time. And again, once you're enrolled in the VA healthcare system, you're enrolled for life. So I would say, especially if you're a student going through school, it would be a great time to check if you're eligible for the VA, because if you don't fall under that, if you're not service connected with the disability rating, or you aren't a combat veteran, once you start making more money, it can often mean that you become ineligible for healthcare because of that income threshold. So we really encourage student veterans to apply, especially while they're in school, because if you're like me, I was very poor during school, so it's good to have that resource available. The myth, I can't reapply because I've already been told I don't qualify due to income. And again, even if you've been told you don't qualify, you can check again. There's no reason that you can't apply multiple times for the VA, because people's life situations change. People lose jobs, people pay a lot of out-of-pocket expenses for medications or medical expenses. So it's always, if you've had a change of anything, if you've moved, it's worth checking again. Eligibility, again, there's an income threshold, but it's by location. So if you move to, for instance, you lived in Sacramento and you moved to San Francisco, the threshold is quite a bit higher in San Francisco. So that might change your eligibility just by relocating. So I would just say, if you're not sure, the worst thing the VA is ever going to say to you is that you still aren't eligible, but you might be. So, again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And then I hear this a lot from veterans, and I think it really speaks to the kind of the culture of service and the importance of caring for other veterans. But the myth of, if I use the VA healthcare system, I will be taking services away from another veteran who needs the care more than me. And the truth is that the more veterans who see the VA, the more the VA gets funded. And so I think there's plenty of resources for many veterans to go around. And actually, it tells Congress that this service is important and that it matters for veterans to have this care. With that being said, if you make an appointment at the VA and you can't make it, please cancel it, because that slot could be used by somebody else who might need an appointment that day, and we can squeeze them into a slot that you're not using. So if you do end up making an appointment, we do ask that you try to cancel that. That way we can get that care to somebody else. But again, there's lots of services to go around, and the VA is happy to help and navigate you through that. Next slide. And if you have any questions or want to speak one-on-one with me, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email. I do respond to both a call and an email. If I don't answer the phone, please leave a message, because I do check those and I do call people back. And I am cognizant that I went over a lot of information in a short period of time. So if you're, walking away from this, or you're viewing this and just have other questions, definitely reach out. The VA is a big system. I guarantee it will sort of confuse you. So I'd like for, anyone to reach out if they have, confusion about what's happening, or I'm not sure. I thought I applied online and I haven't heard anything. We can check all of that stuff. So feel free to reach out. And thanks again for having me. And I'm happy to answer any questions that people might have.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. You always bring so much to the table. You have so much incredible knowledge. There's no questions in here, but we do have an attendee. Primo is on here. So Primo, if you want to talk, we can totally turn on your mic and you can talk, or you can put it in the Q&A while we wait for you. I did have a question for you, Kathleen. You said it a few different times. You said that once you sign up, you're signed up for life. But I also heard like something that I hear all the time is, if you don't use it for a while, you kind of get dropped out of it. Like, for instance, like you sign up for it and for a few years, you're like, I don't need it. I've got this other insurance. And then 5 years later, you're like, I don't have this insurance anymore. I'm going to use the VA. And now you have to re-sign up for the VA. Is that true? Or you're just...
Not usually. I mean, what typically might happen is that if you're on a doctor's panel, you might get dropped off the panel, and then you have to just reestablish your care by doing kind of a new patient appointment again. I mean, I have heard of weird circumstances where people are like, they maybe they got in under combat veteran status. They never provided income information, didn't get a disability rating. And then maybe there was some issue when they tried to, I've heard of that one time, we were able to fix it, but my kind of go-to for it, just get seen by the VA once a year. Most of the time when I've had veterans call, if they're stressed because they need a document filled out and they don't have a doctor, and then they try to rush through the VA, and it's kind of hard to do that. So if you do get enrolled, I say just try to get seen at least once a year. That was going to prevent a lot of issues, but typically we don't have people get just dropped. It's almost like a number of things had to have happened for someone to get unenrolled. It's very preventable. I haven't really heard of that ever happening. But I think there's a way that you can be conscientious about making sure the VA is working the best for you. And I think that's getting seen at least once a year, because you stay on a doctor's panel. And once that happens, everything gets smoother. So hopefully that answers it. But I kind of found it easy to do that when it was like COVID, because I could do my vaccinations and I could easily go in there and still stay connected. But when you're going in for doctor's appointments, kind of harder to make those appointments and go in there. And just to speak to that, because of COVID, for instance, I know at the San Francisco VA, we offer a lot of virtual appointments, including initial appointments. So someone wanting to establish care at the VA and say they have a busy schedule, we can schedule a virtual initial appointment. So you don't have to leave work. Maybe you're doing that during a lunch hour or something. So there's a lot more flexibility. So if someone's running into that, I definitely, as you're talking to any scheduler, if you can, ask if there's a virtual appointment available, because if they have it, they will often schedule you right into that, just to kind of help ease that, because people work, and sometimes getting to the VA, it's just time that people don't have.
I'm in Sacramento, and I actually was referred over to San Francisco VA. It's so funny. So, and I saw a provider there for a good year, and it was fantastic. It was like he was, in Sacramento. So it works really, really great. I think that everybody works really well together. So it is great. So I really appreciate it. Primo didn't have any questions.
Great.
He just wanted to expand his knowledge. This is recorded, so we will be able to share this with as many people as possible. Thank you so much for being here with us. Again, you are such a wealth of knowledge. We have everybody's contact information in there. I'm going to hand the floor over to Sean. Sean's going to go over the upcoming webinars and go over the survey and things like that.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Primo, for joining us today. I thought you had some awesome points, especially when you were talking about just encouraging people to apply and how you took time to address those myths about VA healthcare. So I just really want to say thank you to Kathleen and to Kevin and to Erica from Samuel Merritt for help sponsoring this. And thank you, Primo, for joining us. As my teammate Jennifer said, we do have some upcoming events. On the 29th, we've got a great employment resources event coming up. On the 13th, we have both mental health and emergency preparedness webinars. And on the 20th, we have another emergency preparedness webinar as well. On the 26th, you can visit us to see the webinar on comp and pen. There is a survey that if you have time, we appreciate that you take a moment to fill that out. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today, and thank you for your service. This is our contact phone number, and again, our media, Instagram, Facebook. And I want to just take a second to bring that survey back up. That way, if you could take a moment, because we do value your feedback, and we always look towards making sure that we are giving people the information that they're looking for with webinars. And we had a couple audio and a couple video issues today, and I do really appreciate your flexibility with that today, Primo. And thank you to our attendees as well for helping us navigate through a couple of those challenges. It looks like we've got about 9 minutes left over. So I would like to make sure that there's no further questions and give just an extra second or two. And if not, then again, I want to just say thank you to everybody for joining us today, and give you that time back, give you that 8 minutes back to your day so you can finish up your lunch hour. But I'll leave this survey screen up for a little bit, and thank you.